What is going on, YouTube people? We are back for another edition of the weekly sports card market update. Got to preface this one a little bit. I am recording late on Friday night. That's right, we are recording a day earlier on this one. I'll explain why in a minute. It is currently the start of the third quarter of Mavs Clippers. So I do not yet know if the Mavericks close out the Clippers or not. My Cavs sucked. Super excited for round 2 of the NBA playoffs. We'll see if the Cavs can make it or not, only to get smoked by the Celtics. I am very much looking forward to Nuggets Timberwolves as appointment viewing in round 2, and Mavericks Thunder if the Mavs make it. The reason I'm recording early, I potentially am setting up for a very long day Saturday. The Washington PA show is Saturday. So I am on my way to that first thing tomorrow morning. And then immediately after that is Card Collector 2 Trade Night. I am debating pulling the double header. And if I pull the double header, I will not get home until very late on Saturday night. So that's why we're recording a day early. I don't think anything too crazy will happen. Famous last words, I'm sure. But busy weekend of card shows this weekend and possibly trade nights. So hopefully we have some fun videos coming out of all of that. Before we dive too deep, we got to shout out channel partner ComC, once again, sponsor of the weekly sports card market update. I got a package in from ComC this past week of a bunch of really cool stuff that I picked up over on that platform. That video will probably be up sometime next week. Got a LeBron rookie refractor. If you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen it. But we picked that up. Picked up some baseball prospects. Picked up some Juan Sotos. All sorts of fun stuff in that package that we all purchased over on the wonderful ComC platform. So if you're not checking it out, get your butt on over there. I'm super excited for this Marvel and non-sports cards auction that is coming at the end of the month. A very busy news week this week. We got some things to kind of circle back to and some new things to talk about. First up, Bowman. That's right, it is Bowman release week this coming week, May 8th. If you are still in the market and you have not purchased yet, Fanatics, this will still be live on Sunday because this is good for 4 days. Fanatics has hobby and jumbo boxes up. Everyone seems to be chasing jumbos. 3 autos for $500-ish or 1 auto for $250 to $275 makes this pretty clear cut that you want the jumbos. They are up for product drop. It's not cheap, $520. That is a little bit more expensive than what they went up for pre-sale. But that does seem to be cheaper than any of the major outlets. Dave and Adams is at $600. I saw Blowout was at $600, and they upped theirs to $620. So if you're looking for Bowman jumbos, this is probably going to be the best deal outside of maybe cash at a show. So I will try to remember to drop a link to this in the description of the video down below. Or there's just a generic Fanatics link always in my video description that you can click on to go check out. There was a announcement with Bowman. Pete Rose, they've done these in the past with retrofractors. Curious for your all thoughts and comments on this one. Pete Rose retrofractors with on-card autos are going to be in 2024 Bowman. Very intriguing that Topps is putting him back in the product for the first time. I actually have a feeling these will probably sell pretty well. Pete Rose has a massive collector base. He has not had cards in a very long time. Very long time. I don't remember when his last card was, but it has been a hot minute. I have to imagine that these will be pretty popular. I think Bob Gibson is the other big chase on the retrofractors, but this Pete Rose one will be the headliner, and that is the red refractor out of 5 that we are seeing there in the photo. At least I assume that's what it is because it's numbered to 5 and it has a partial red border. Not sure what to do with the purple there. Good image on that. It's pretty good photo that they used for that one. For good old Gambling Pete. But yeah, just very curious. Definitely it is gimmicky for sure. What are you going to do? They seem like they've doubled down on these retrofractors now. It's not something I'm going to actively go out and chase. If I hit one, I hit one. It is not the reason I am buying this product. That is for sure. But that was the big kind of announcement this week leading up. There's also some new case hits and things like that. The biggest news of the week, this was obviously Topps Industry Summit week, was the whole announcement of the unlicensed product, both on the football and basketball side, with really basketball getting the major pump on this. In addition to that, the additional Fanatics events that are going to be coming in Pittsburgh and Orlando. I think I had mentioned it on the live stream. I'm not sure I have in the video yet. I have booked my hotel for Pittsburgh already. There's a couple hotels right around PNC Park. That's a really nice area. I've been down there quite a few times. But I wanted to lock a hotel in because there's only about 3 or 4 right there across the street from the venue. I got something that I could cancel, so if I need to get out of it, I can. But I do fully plan on attending that event. That is a very easy 2-hour drive for me, but I will want to be on site down there. I will probably not make the Orlando one. That would be shocking if I make it down to Orlando. But curious, are you, now with the additional Fanatics events in the wild, are you going to attend one of the 3? Between the 3 of them, if you're east of the Mississippi, you could probably get to one of them pretty easily, whether it's Orlando, New York, or Pittsburgh. There's obviously various hurdles to each individual one. And if I could, I would attend all 3 because I feel like these are going to be 3 very different shows. The New York show feels like a Comic-Con. Orlando feels like a mega card show. And Pittsburgh, we really don't know yet. Pittsburgh feels like in my mind, I'm imagining it as a Shipshawana show on a ton of steroids. Is the best way I could describe it in the back of my head, and probably a bunch of Pittsburgh autograph signers on top of it. But I could be completely wrong on that one. That's the one I have the least feel on. I feel pretty confident what New York is going to be like, and I feel pretty confident on what Orlando is going to be like. But I'm a little in the dark on the Pittsburgh one. But are you going to plan to attend one of these 3 to kind of close out 2024? Circling back to the unlicensed stuff, this has been a hot button topic all week long in regards to, the unlicensed. There's 2 big, my thought personally has not changed on it. I am not a big fan of unlicensed. I will say what I said in the news video that I did on it. Will I buy some of this? Probably, because it's Topps Chrome. That stupid Topps Chrome logo in the corner is really going to drive a ton of business. They're going to sell a crap ton of this stuff, whether you're team licensed or team unlicensed, because it says Topps Chrome. The couple key things for me, and I'm going to leave this as I need more information. One, I need to see more images from the set. What does the Victor base card look like? Is it this image just without the auto, or are they using a different image? What does the LeBron look like? What does some of the other players look like? What do the autos look like? That's the first thing I need to see. How aesthetically pleasing are the other cards in the set? The second thing, and the most important thing, is, and this is another one that I have seen a wide range of debate on, what the hell do they price these things at? Personally, a hobby box, let's assume a hobby box has 1 auto. I feel like an unlicensed 1 auto product should be around $200. Topps Chrome Baseball sells for less than that. Topps Chrome Baseball is, I was buying Topps Chrome Baseball last year. That's with MVP buybacks, a licensed product, and 1 auto per box at like $160 a box. So that's Topps Chrome Baseball. Now, you got Victor, you got LeBron autos. I'm sure they're going to be nearly impossible to hit. No MVP buyback, no license. In my mind, there should be no reason these are more expensive than baseball ones. But I have a feeling they're going to try to push the limit on this and see what they could get away with. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's $200 or $250 for a base hobby box. Like, how do you price an unlicensed Topps Chrome basketball product for more than an already inflated Bowman product? You know, a Bowman hobby box is $279 on their website, $269, something around that price point. You know, how do you come out and price an unlicensed product higher than that? Because that tells me that when the licensed stuff comes around, that's going to be even more expensive. So price point on this is going to be super critical. You know, what does the price point on this look like? I ideally would like to see sub 200. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to get greedy with it and probably push higher than that. I see people say this is going to be between $1,000 and $2,000 a box. If they price this thing correctly, they will sell a metric ton of it, even though it's unlicensed. Because people want to open basketball product that is reasonably priced. That's been the biggest knock on Panini this entire time, is that it costs you $1,000 to rip a box of Prism, whether it's licensed or unlicensed or not. So we'll see how this all shakes out. There will definitely be a video once we see what pricing looks like on this, because I am very, very curious. Kabooms. Wemby Kabooms are starting to make the rounds, and I have not dug super into this yet. I did see one of the golds were pulled. There's been speculation on the internet, on the old interwebs, that something is going on in regards to quality control, that almost every Kaboom that's being pulled, and you can all let me know if you're seeing the same, are off-centered. And you can see it here on this gold one. Look how thick this border is here on the left side versus how thin it is on the right side. If you're looking at a card, I saw images floating around the Twitterverse, or the X-verse, if you will. Shout out X-Men97, one of the best shows on television right now, if not one of the best Marvel shows ever. Yeah, I said it. Where there was images floating around the X-verse that showed a bunch of different Kabooms from 2023, and they all look like this, where they were all off-centered to some degree or another, which is a little scary that your biggest chase in the product may have quality control issues. So more to come on that. We'll have to give it a few days and let some more of this product get ripped and more of them hit the secondary market and see what they do. Very interesting to kind of see what these things sell for. Let's go ahead and transition over to charts and graphs, everybody's favorite. Link in the description down below. If you want to check out Market Movers for yourself, you get a free trial and 20% off for life. First up, the Market Pulse. We have not looked at one of these for probably about a month, if not more now, in a weekly sports card market update. What this was is a sports card investor team put together the SCI 500. It is what they consider like 500 of the most iconic cards. They did one for 2023, and then they updated the list for 2024. And this kind of just gives you a barometer of the general overall health / vibes of thing, if you will. So I ran this back. This is from January 1st, 2023 through today, May 3rd. And what I was curious here, the purpose of this, and I ran a different version of this, we'll look on it on the next slide, is, you know, it spiked up beginning of the year like we've seen a lot. And then as we roll into late March and April, it dips down below, and into May, it dips down below baseline and then really drops off in May, goes up leading into the National, and then dips way down heading into the holidays. So we've had that initial upswing. We are now past that in 2024, but it's actually holding, 2024 is actually holding a little stronger. So if we fast forward to 2024, this is where they start the 2024 index. You can see it did the same thing. In March, in January, February, and March, it went up, and it did dip down. You can see here as we head to the end of March, it starts trending down. But at least through April 21st, it's held above the starting point. Whereas back in 2023, that was not the case. Now, I reran this chart from January 1st, 2024 through today, so the first 5 months. Now, the interesting thing here is this one's actually a little bit more up to date. So we can see here at the end of April, it did actually drop, but it is still just barely clinging to the starting point, that black line. We still have not clipped below it quite yet, but we are flirting with it. The dark blue line is the 2024 index. The light blue line is the 2023 index. I do not know the specific differences between those two. They're generally, I think a large percentage of the cards are the same, but they did make some small tweaks and updates for the new year. That's why they move relatively in line with each other. But we can see here at the end of April, there was a large drop off that take it back to almost baseline. But if we go back and look at last year's, when we get to May, it was already well under for the entire month of April and May. And then as we move throughout May, it dipped way lower. So are we trending in that same direction with this drop down? We'll have to see when we get to the end of May. We'll see what this looks like. I'm not going to look at this every single week, but we'll look at this back at the end of the month or maybe the beginning of June and kind of see where things sit then. But so far, things feel a little bit more stable. Now, why is that? Who knows? There could be a ton of different reasons. Maybe people are just feeling more comfortable. People have sold out from under a lot of, the bad inventory that they had. So things have kind of soft reset. Repackers are inflating the market. Who knows? But whatever reason it is, things do, the vibes and the energy does feel better kind of all around right now than where it was last year at the same time. The, are cards still going down? Yes, of course. But they're not dropping, 30% a week unless something critical happens, like we saw, in the years past. I didn't include any football on charts and graphs this week. There really isn't much happening over there, and there really hasn't been much happening over there outside of, the draft stuff. But that stuff's basically either very slowly ticking down or very slowly ticking up. So that kind of feels like where we're at as a whole outside of major news. Now, NBA has really been moving because of the playoffs. We're going to talk a bunch of basketball here in a minute. And then baseball's been a little all over the place, just depending on the player. A lot of prime people have really disappointed. See Jackson Holiday and a few others. You're seeing that natural expectations meet reality with the baseball season in full swing. And basketball will be tricky going forward. The guys that really blow up and show out, their stuff's going to go to the moon for the next probably about the next month or so. But anyone that gets bounced, their stuff's probably going to go the opposite direction. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump over to basketball. What I pulled up here, these are over the last 30 days, I believe. Let me double check that. Yep, 30 days. Just guys that have really had breakout playoffs so far. And one that, could potentially see some bounce up. So just in price point order from most expensive to least expensive, Anthony Edwards has been the probably not necessarily percentage wise the biggest winner. But I was listening, I think it was Bill Simmons podcast. I think I was listening to really sum this up the best. He has the easiest path to being the face of the NBA by the end of the playoffs. Now, does that happen? We don't know. But basically what he was laying out, and I agree 100%, he gets the Nuggets. If he could slay the Nuggets, the former NBA champions, and then move on, if they could beat them, they'd have a pretty good chance of making the NBA Finals. And the East is kind of weak. If he could pull off some nonsense here, even if they don't necessarily win a title, but he just gets there or gets them close or loses in a competitive series or whatever, and then immediately after that, he's on the Olympic squad, we could be looking at Ant-Man as like one of the faces of the current NBA, especially with KD, Curry, LeBron, really starting to show their age. So Ant has the potential to really go bonkers here depending on what goes on. And he kind of already has. He's up 31% over the last 30 days. And some of his stuff is up way higher than that. We're just looking at silver prisms. But, I was watching some of his more rare stuff tonight end at auction, and it was just going for crazy amounts of money. So Ant is super, super hyped. SGA, only up about 5%, but you could kind of spin the same wheel for him as we just did for Ant. If he could lead his team to the NBA title or to at least the through the conference finals, even if they don't win the title. His stuff's been up all year. He's been one of the biggest winners of the NBA season, but he has been pretty stagnant around that $600 mark, give or take 10% for a while now. Jalen Brunson up 63% over the last 30. Just, I mean, what a series between 76ers and New York. And they are most likely going to win round 2. No offense to the Indiana Pacers, but I think the Knicks absolutely smashed, maybe not smash them, but I don't think the Knicks have a problem getting through the Pacers. So they're probably going to go to the conference finals. And, depending on what happens with, no offense to my Cavs and the Magic, I don't think either one of those teams are beating the Celtics even without Porzingis. Knicks Celtics Eastern Conference Finals. As a viewer, of course, I'd like my Cavs there, but that sounds pretty fun. Jalen Brunson, just absolutely torrid playoffs, and I'm actually surprised he's still that cheap. $300 for him, given what he's done and on the Knicks, feels kind of low. Tyrese Maxey up 40%. He obviously had an amazing series against the Knicks. I don't know if those prices will hold now that he has been eliminated. The thing with him that you want to asterisk to keep in mind is they have a ton of cap space, and they are probably going to make some sort of big move in the offseason. So would he potentially see another bump up from that if they shake the snow globe? Same thing with the next player, Paolo Banchero. He's looked absolutely fantastic against my Cavs. I have League Pass, so I've watched him play before, but obviously locking into him for a 6-game series so far is a whole different bag of cats. He looks really, really good. That Magic team is super frisky. They feel like they're a piece or two away, and they also have a ton of cap space. I have to imagine they make a big move. The Magic on paper, regardless what happens in Game 7 on Sunday, feel like the team that is going to be, if they have a big offseason, they are going to be the trendy team heading into next year. So I could see Paolo cards. Well, like I said, he's a little bit of a weird one because we don't know what's going to happen yet. He could have a big Game 7 and they could go to the moon, or he could fail and maybe they drop a little bit. But definitely one to keep an eye on with a big offseason coming for the Magic as well. And then one that hasn't jumped a ton yet, but he is an absolutely fantastic player on the Thunder, is Jalen Williams. His PSA 10 silver is sitting at around $200. If they make a run deep, I could see this being a little bit of a coming out party for him, because I'm not sure how many people realize how good Jalen Williams actually is. It's not like a lot of people are tuning into Thunder games left and right, and if they get a long playoff run and people kind of learn about him a little bit, that could be pretty intriguing as well. So lots of fun NBA stuff going on. It's actually been a fantastic NBA playoffs. Quick check-in on Victor Silver Prisms. They have come down. It looks like they may just now be settling in. This is over the last 90 days, so it pretty much captures most of his sales. The raw is down about 10%. PSA 10s are sitting right now right about $1,000. That's down 61%, but that's from the crazy highs when they first hit the pop report. Don't really pay attention to the percentages on these at all. And then PSA 9s are down like 40%. This is just the reason why I wanted to show the far out view, is so you could kind of see how the huge drops have stopped. And it does feel like his silver is going to settle in at around the $1,000 price point, at least for the short term. We'll see if it starts to bump back up again or continue to decrease as more and more pop report hits. But for the time being anyways, it seems to be settling in around that $1,000 mark. In Market Movers, you could click on the pop count and it will show you the growth. You could obviously go pull up gem rate charts as well. But you can see here the jumps, it grows by 52 and then by 58. Then we get a bigger jump up at 134. Then we get another big jump up of 314 and another big jump up of 433. So we're still seeing increases week over week on the PSA 10 population. Like the number is still getting bigger in regards to how many are being added. What you want to see is that number start to slow down a little bit. Like next week when it updates here in a couple of days from time of recording, is it over 433 added, or does it kind of start to come down? That tells you, the PSA machine's starting to slow down on these things a little bit as it works through that inventory that they have as we move further and further away from release. So maybe the $1,000 price point hasn't quite leveled out yet, but just kind of something to keep in mind there. Switching over really quickly, a little hockey talk. Same thing. Connor Bedard check-in. His PSA 10 Young Guns does seem to be settling at, once again, that $1,000 price point. It's been sitting there for the better part of the back half of April now. Still could be some flexibility in that. Same thing, you're seeing 60-70% drops from the all-time high. Once again, if you get one of these things first to market and it's not rare, sell that thing as fast as possible. You'll be able to buy it back in a couple of months if you want. Let's look at his PSA jump ups as well. So you can see there, that's a 678 increase at the beginning of April. And then a couple weeks later, we're at 813 added to the population report. So that one is still going up as well. So we'll see if that one can hang around that $1,000 mark. Maybe we'll check in again here in about a month. If I just shorten this up over the last 14 days, you can see here it's been pretty flat. Anything earlier than that, and it's still coming down. So we'll see where Connor ends up sticking. The population on that card is going to be astronomical. Little baseball really quick. Elly De La Cruz continues to be on absolute fire. Just a quick check-in on his first Bowmans. These are over the last 90 days. His PSA 10 Refractor first Bowman auto is up about 20%, sitting right about 2K. Pretty much right there, the same price as J-Rod. J-Rod's come down a little bit. That's kind of an interesting challenge trade. Would you rather, so question for you all, would you rather the PSA 10 Refractor Elly for 1.9K or the PSA 10 Julio first Bowman for basically about the same price? They are like within $100 of each other. So let's just assume that that's an even trade. Which one would you rather have if I said you had to hold it for a couple of years? And then his base has seen a little bump up the last few days. That's up 20%-ish as well, sitting just over $1,000. I know his stuff has been very, very popular lately as he had a massive start to the season. It is even filtered down to his base card. This is over the last 30 days. This is his base top series 1. Actually up 20%. A base card going up. This thing leveled out at about 50 some bucks, and then it's been on the upswing with his hot start. Currently PSA pop of around 1,400 on this bad boy, and still sitting at around 70 bucks. So if if you're just ripping random packs and you could get something the PSA 10 at the $16-ish grading fee, you could turn that into about a $60 card, maybe 55 after fees, 60 bucks locally with cash or maybe trade, depending on where you're at. Now, if you get a 9, you're sunk. So you got to be picky on them, but you're playing with fire there a little bit. But if you sent 10 in and you got 7 10s, 6 10s even, you're going to come out okay on that most likely, depending on the selling fees. So even the Elly base tops seems to be doing pretty okay. And just pulling up football really quickly, like I said, I didn't pull up any individuals. There's really not much going on. You can see over the last 30 days, this Mahomes, you can ignore that. There's an outlier sale there. But generally speaking, like Burrow's up $100 over the last 30 days, very small percentage points. Nothing super crazy going on. We're just kind of in that dead period now. The draft is over, and really, the draft, at least in the Silver Prism market, I know some Kyler stuff sold with the Marvin Harrison Jr. thing. And I should actually mention here, now that we're talking football, there does seem to be a weird spat going on right now with Marvin Harrison Jr. and the NFLPA and Fanatics. Not sure how that's all going to end, but it's going to put things in a murky situation until it does. I guess basically he doesn't want to sign his NFLPA deal because he doesn't want to deal with Fanatics. There's a bunch of rumor and stories going around why that is. Needless to say, I think this thing ends up getting settled. I cannot see him not signing his NFLPA deal. That would have massive ramifications beyond just a Fanatics merch deal. One, he wouldn't be able to be in any product. 2, you wouldn't have any autos. 3, I don't think they can make jerseys for him. He wouldn't be able to be in Madden and video games and stuff like that. There'd be a whole host of nonsense if he doesn't sign his NFLPA deal. So we'll see where that all shakes out. This just feels like posturing to maybe get some extra cash. But we'll see. Time will tell on that one. That's all I got for you, boys and girls. I got to get this thing edited and uploaded so I don't have to worry about it in case I get back super late on Saturday. So remember, if anything crazy happens on Saturday, I don't know that it happened yet. Everybody have a great weekend. Catch boys and girls on the next one.